Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Every time I say कि जी आज का जो episode है वो special होने जा रहा है, but today is actually very special episode because आज के जो हमारे guest हैं, he is he has come from somewhere where every Pakistani want to go, but on the contrary he has come to Pakistan and left that place where he belongs to. Welcome to our podcast, Mr. Todd Shea.
Thank you, sir. It's great to be here.
Thank you for coming here and giving us this opportunity to talk to you. So, Mr. Todd, how are you and where are you from? So, let's talk about yourself. So, where are you from and where were you born actually?
So, I was born in Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C., in 1966, a long time ago.
Long time.
Yeah, I just turned 57 last month and I can't believe it.
Oh, good to see, good to know that, and belated happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
So you were born in Maryland, U.S., and how was the life there in your childhood?
So life was just an average, American kid growing up in suburban Maryland. But when I was 12 years old, my mother passed away. Tragically, and so that changed my life considerably.
Yeah.
Because it was a situation where she committed suicide after a divorce situation was coming with my father. So in desperation, because that was the only love she had in this world, and he was wanting to break up with her, and he was cheating on her. So she took a whole bottle of Valium.
Oh my God!
And it killed her. So it was very sad. Next few years for me in my teenage years. So I was very withdrawn, very angry. I got into drugs, but thankfully. I guess music saved me because I had gotten a guitar as a gift from my mother, and she had bought it for me about a month before she died. So then when she died, it was just a month before Christmas. So I got this guitar, this gift from her. And also another gift I got from her was a Rand McNally Atlas of the World. So my love of travel and seeing places, came from that book, and my love of music and my going into having a career in music for a long time, and also music actually saving me from the depths of despair and grief from losing her, as well as the drugs that I was using, because I got into heavy drugs. So from about 13 years old till about 19 years old, 5-6 years, I was in the wrong kind of life.
Yeah, in the dark side of the life.
Yes, heavily addicted to cocaine, running around with the wrong people. I was playing in bands, which were getting popular, and hanging out with the kids much older than me. And so it was a life that at the time I was having fun in one sense, because drugs can be an escape from all the grief and all the things that you're going through. But at the same time, it's destroying your mind, it's destroying your body. So there was a point where I knew that I would not survive this situation. Like I kind of a couple times had overdosed and was laying there on the bed in the early hours of the morning, just waiting for my heart to explode because I'd taken too much of this drug.
Yeah.
And heart is beating fast and laying there for hours until it would calm down, thinking that I'll die. And thankfully, I guess Allah knew that He was going to need me for some future work, maybe.
Yeah.
So He blessed me with surviving that situation. And the way that I got out of drugs was a realization that I knew that I was so addicted that I couldn't possibly quit. I couldn't just say, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. It was too deep and I was too addicted and I was craving it, and I was, I wasn't stealing it or getting into crime because by playing music and hanging around with certain people. I got it for free all the time.
Okay.
You know, if you're a good guitar player and you're in a band and you're, you know, in the party scene, you can get it for free. So otherwise, I might have started stealing in order to get my habit looked after. So by knowing that I wasn't going to be able to leave this, I knew that the only way that I could survive is if I totally removed myself physically from being able to even get near the stuff or near anybody that had it. It was that bad. So I joined the United States Marine Corps. And after joining the Marine Corps, I was in training, and about a month into training, I got kicked out of the Marine Corps because they give you a test right before you come in of your blood and your urine sample.
Yeah.
And it came back positive for cocaine. So they kicked me out for being on drugs. And that was a moment of kind of destiny for me, you can say, because
Turning point of your life.
it was a turning point, because what ended up happening was, even though the Marine Corps would have never signed up for that, it ended up being my drug rehab. For that month and a half that I was in there, I was able to get the drugs out of my system, get some discipline in me, get my body in shape. And trust me, Marine Corps boot camp is very hard. And it's also even harder when you're going through cocaine withdrawal, a narcotic, while you're going through that too.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how I got through the first month, but I did get through it. And although I was very ashamed that I got kicked out and, you know, all that, when I got out, my mind and my body were in a condition where I could actually resist this stuff and not be a part of it.
Okay.
Got back into music, but I started playing different kind of music, Southern rock and country rather than heavy metal and hard rock. And so I was with a band that was more of a family atmosphere and not the drugs and the things like that. So from that point, I, you know, just started getting better at my songwriting and my guitar playing. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, after about 3 or 4 years of playing in the Washington, D.C., New York area. We played at the White House a couple times. We played for some big shows, opening up for really big famous artists. So I wanted more, you know, I wanted a taste of that.
Yeah.
So I went to Nashville and I wrote songs for a small music publishing company for a few years. And then, and I loved my time there, and I learned a lot about the music business and songwriting and music. And I played in some of the big clubs in Nashville that featured stars.
So that was the time you had come out of the darker side of your life and you were on the right track.
On the right track, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's very inspiring, because the stories that we listen and we read on news, that people who get into the, you know, this dark part of the life, drugs, cocaine, they hardly come out of it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they ruin their life, not just their own life, but they also affect their families a lot.
Yeah. So during that time, I also got married and had a child. And my son now is 33 years old.
Oh.
And he comes to Pakistan, by the way, Justin. But unfortunately, because I still wasn't 100%, you know, together, I think probably between his mother and I, we were just maybe too immature or too damaged from things that we'd been through before. So our relationship didn't work out. But we became friends to raise our son. I moved to Nashville, got into the music business, and during my 4 years in Nashville, Tennessee, I learned a lot about songwriting and music. But I also realized another thing, that this kind of music, as much as I loved it, the things that I was writing and the things that were coming out of me were much more like Pink Floyd or rock and things like that. So I decided to make another change. I had an opportunity to perform music in Panama City, Florida, on the beach, and I really liked that idea. And you know, I'd have my son come down with me when he was little, you know, 5 years old, 6 years old, and hang out at the beach with Dad, go camping in Florida. And it was a time of my life where I was really able to get into my songwriting and my music craft. I started a band and we did Pink Floyd's Wall album live, just like Pink Floyd did it, except we also used the movie as our backdrop. We had licensing for it and everything, and we synced our live music to the movie and performed that. So it was something very unique. I also played, acoustically around, restaurants and places on the beach around town. So it was a time in my life where I got to settle into a calm life, for a change, and focus on my craft, songwriting. So after a few years of that, I decided that, well, I've done everything that I can do here, and I could stay here for the rest of my life and play music on the beach and do fine, but I wanted more. So I went to New York to see if I could get a record deal. I went to New York in like 1998, 1999. And I camped out on the east end of Long Island, played some music out there while I got my band together, started a band, started playing in the New York area, started getting good reviews, started getting, magazine articles and things like that. And so I met a gentleman there who introduced me to Sid Bernstein, who had brought the Beatles and Stones to America. Okay. Rolling Stones, Jethro Tull, the Beatles. He, back in the 60s and 70s, was the top music promoter probably in the country. His name was Sid Bernstein, a beautiful human being. He took me under his wing, and he liked my music, and he was semi-retired, but he was still a guy that could talk to anyone in the music business and call up any executive in the record industry in New York or LA, and they would take his call because of his association with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. He brought them here, he brought them to US from UK, their very first concerts. So he was a legend. And working with him was amazing. And we set up many nights, and he would tell me stories and things like that. So he set up a showcase for me at CBGB's world famous nightclub, where many bands got started, punk bands and Blondie and the Rolling Stones, that very historic place, to play for all of these record label executives. It was set up for September 12th, 2001. So from the eastern end of Long Island, I came down and stayed in a hotel, get ready for this big gig that was really important for me. I'd already done a couple CDs. I'd already had some buzz in the community of my music, and started to have some good promotion. And now it was just about getting a distribution deal with a major label.
So you were just very close to the destiny.
Yeah, it seemed that way. It seemed that way. Nothing is ever guaranteed in life, but when you've got Sid Bernstein, when you've got an opportunity to play for all the record executives, labels, and you've had this fan base that you've developed, and it looks good, right? It's looking good. It certainly was on the path, on the right path. The day before my big concert was supposed to happen was 9/11. So 9/11 happened. I saw the towers on fire outside of my hotel window.
So you were in the same city?
Yes, I was.
You were in New York?
Just a couple miles away from where the towers were struck by the airplanes. So I saw this unfold in front of me, and of course the gig was canceled, and I knew that, but even I didn't want to play music at that time. Like after that happened, all I wanted to do was go and help. I had this van full of my music equipment, my guitars and amps and things, and I unloaded all that stuff, and I went to a place called Chelsea Piers in order to see if I could be of use. And I said, I remember going up in this line. There was a huge line of volunteers at this. It's about 2 miles north of where the towers fell. They had it's called Chelsea Piers on the Hudson River, that basically had a kind of a disaster center that they started, and they started doing their coordination and operations out of there. So I went there, and there was a long line of people volunteering. So I just went to the front of the line and said, is this the line I should go into if I have a van? I have a huge van, and if you need it. And they said, oh, you have a van? Come with me. So they grabbed me, and they filled up my van with Gatorade, fruit, water, all these things, because they said there was a fire department down at Ground Zero that was really needing to be rehydrated after being in this burning pile of buildings trying to find people. And so they gave me that mission. So I went down to Ground Zero, and I spent a week down there giving firefighters and rescuers and people working down there everything from, fruit and water to other kinds of food and medicines and socks and underwear and eye wash and dust masks and food, dog food for the rescue dogs, all sorts of things. After a week, I realized that I wasn't needed anymore, because from the beginning of chaos to a few days later having the larger efforts having taken shape and everything was set and professionals were doing their job, I was like a lone wolf that was able to get supplies to people who were focused on other things more important, like rescuing people, going into burning buildings, doing all those sorts of things that I'm not trained to do. And I wasn't trained to do any kind of disaster relief.
Yeah.
I was a musician trying to make it big, guitar player. I had no idea I would ever do this. I had no aptitude for it that I knew about. I had no training for it. But this thing happened in front of me, and I wanted to do something. So I took initiative to do it and realized I was actually pretty good at doing the backup work of logistics and getting the supplies together in a disaster type situation. And if anybody who's ever been in a disaster like that, there's one thing they realize when they're getting supplies and things, is that stuff changes every 2 minutes. It's a very dynamic and fluid situation. Everything is needed immediately, as soon as possible. Communications are a challenge. Getting through blocked roads or damage is a challenge. Talking to the right people to get the right things that they need as soon as possible. These are all challenges that you face when you're doing this. And later it occurred to me that I did all this stuff very well without having any training. And some people asked me that, how did you succeed in doing this so well? And I said, well, I guess the only thing I can think of is my life's been a disaster up to this point.
Yeah.
So I was able to, go through that. The other thing is by having a band and touring and playing music, when you're running a band, you have to hire the musicians and find the right people, deal with all their problems. You got a great drummer, but he's got a drug problem. You got a great guitar player, but his wife doesn't want him to play music anymore and is pressurizing him to. You have to record the music, write the songs, record the music, work with the producers. Then you have to try to sell that music and market that music and do the artwork. Then you have to go on tour and play that music and get fans and stay in touch with fans and mingle with fans and take photos and all that. And then when the van breaks down in the middle of nowhere, you have to be able to fix it, because there's nothing but corn fields 100 miles this way and 100 miles that way. So you better know how to fix your vehicle so you can get back on the road, or at least, get it somewhere where you can get repaired. So these are the kinds of things that you deal with. And then lawyers and managers and all the things that you need to do, and then try to get to the media and promote your music. So there's a lot to do. And I think that
helped
me when
chaos.
it came to doing the logistics of this disaster.
Yeah.
So after 5 days, I was a changed person. Literally, I walked away from Ground Zero in New York, a completely changed person, changed perspective. And what changed is that...
So I can say that this was the second turning point of your life, because one was when you left all the drugs and that part of it.
Yeah. Well, the third turning point, you could say, because after my mom dying was the first major turning point. But yeah, so you're right. It was a major
turning point.
And what I was left with when I left that place was that my desire for fame and fortune and making it big as a star in the music business, to, I guess, for your ego, to have a lot of people love you and to make great songs and great art, all of that evaporated along with the Twin Towers. I didn't have any desire anymore. So I even told my managers, I don't want to do this anymore. And it wasn't about leaving music or not being an artist anymore. It was about not being interested in going down the road of pursuing fame and fortune and a commercial career. So I've always been a musician. I still am. And I've been lucky enough in Pakistan to perform with some of the greatest musicians on the planet who happen to be from this part of the world. And it's been an amazing journey because the music here
So talking
is
about
amazing.
Pakistan, what was the time and what made you, come to Pakistan, and what did you see here? See which opportunity or what thing that you decided to, live here?
So just like not having any intention of ever doing disaster relief work, but it just happened in front of me. So basically, Pakistan also happened to be a place that I'd only heard of on CNN or Fox
CNN
News,
or Fox
and only bad news.
Yeah.
Because they tell 2% of the truth 100% of the time. So this was and especially after 9/11, there was all of this information that was, quite, inflammatory and I guess you can say even brainwashed us Americans
Exactly.
about Muslims and about Pakistan and about all this. When I decided I'm leaving music, that I want to do this humanitarian work, I went to Central America. I went to the Hurricane Katrina and the tsunami in Sri Lanka. In fact, in 2005, when the earthquake happened,
In Pakistan.
yes, just before that, the same year, I had been to Sri Lanka after the tsunami and the Hurricane Katrina. And I just had gotten back to Maryland from Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans after working there for about a month, working with the U.S. Army, working with animal welfare people because we were saving animals as well. And so I came back from that disaster, walked in the door, gave my son a hug. He's about 15 or 16 at the time. We sat down to a pizza. We turned on the television. And again, I hadn't been in the door for even 5 minutes. On the TV screen, earthquake in Pakistan. And it's bad. And it was on
Very
every
bad.
channel.
Yeah.
So I went to the computer and I Googled the Pakistan Embassy's number. And I talked to somebody at the embassy and I said, hey, I've been to these other disasters. I just came back from one. So if you know of anybody that, has a team that needs a logistics person, I'm happy to volunteer. So they said, well, there is a group of Pakistani American doctors from APNA and IMANA, Islamic Medical Association of North America. They're teaming together. They're going to be sending doctors over, and they're sending a team in a couple of days. So I called them, and sure enough, they said, yeah, we would really need logistics help because we don't know exactly what we're getting into. We're going to be in mountains, and so we can definitely use a person that can help us with logistics. So I joined that team, and within a few days of the earthquake, I was there on ground. I landed in Islamabad, and I was greeted by this gentleman that says, hello, I'm Eitazaz Essen, and I'm going to take you home. You get a little bit of rest, and then we'll take you to get your helicopter at first light. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning when we got there. So it was like 2 or 3 hours. We went to his house. His wife Bushra and him were there, and they prepared a beautiful Pakistani meal for me, the very first Pakistani food I'd ever had.
Tour to Pakistan as
Yes,
well.
first time in Pakistan, had no idea about Pakistan.
And you still had that news of CNN and Fox News about Pakistan.
Well, I'd read up about Pakistan quite a bit on the plane ride over and to learn about it and all those things. So I did get sort of a flavor of things, but obviously just by reading. But then getting there, from the very beginning of getting there, obviously you meet a guy like Eitazaz Essen who speaks English better than me. He speaks in the proper British way of speaking. And us Americans, we've destroyed the English language, right? We don't even know how to speak English properly, us Americans. So to meet a guy like that, and then you go to get on a helicopter. We got on a U.S. Army Chinook helicopter at first light after having had my first Pakistani meal, which was glorious. And a love affair with Pakistani food began to where I said, now I know why the British came here and tried to take the place over for so long, because their food is not so good. And they came here and they're like, wow. So I had that wow moment with the food. We get on the Chinook helicopter, those big double rotor, huge capacity with our team. And we land there in Garridupata on the Jhelum River in the middle of Azad Kashmir, because all the roads were out. So we landed in this place, got down there, and the whole boys' college that was there was destroyed. So their field where they had their cricket and stuff, that was where the helicopters were landing. And then over just to the, just 100 yards away from the landing zone was all the doctors we were working with. A team of them had come a day earlier than us.
Okay.
So they already had this big K2 mountain looking pile of medicines and stuff that was all unorganized. And they were so busy treating so many patients, they didn't have time to organize it. So I literally got off the aircraft, and this young lieutenant in the Pakistan Army came up to me and said, "May I take your bag, sir?" He couldn't have been 22, 23 years old, I don't know, something like that. And I'm thinking, I thought I was gonna have a tough time talking to anybody here, but they speak English better than Americans. So, that was one of the first things that I got out of this right away, that showed me that there's something about Pakistan that most Americans would never guess and not know. So me thinking that I won't be able to have a very difficult time communicating with anybody in Pakistan other than the Pakistani American doctors, that just got torn apart, right? So, and ever since I haven't had a problem communicating people, because everybody knows at least a little bit of English, and you learn a few Urdu words, you can get by. But they spoke English better than me, and so that told me something, right? So we get there, and I immediately started organizing the supplies. And then we got the big hospital tent up, a big green tent, and put our operation theater in there. And, so I just got to work.
So what was your expertise, or what was the actually work you were doing there?
So I was organizing supplies.
Okay.
I was making sure that the team had fuel. And we got some of that from the Pakistan Army. And I was arranging whatever was needed. If the team had something they needed, I'd arrange it. I brought a satellite phone because there was no communications. And with the satellite phone, we were able to communicate everywhere. And I had another person that came with me who was also an ex-Marine who was good at logistics work and had worked with me at Hurricane Katrina. In fact, I invited a lot of people to come with me, but all of these guys were like, "Why are you going to Pakistan? They're just going to kill, you're probably going to get killed there. You're going into the belly of the beast. Even if you help children there, they're just going to grow up to kill us. So what are you doing?" And I'm like, well, I already don't trust our media that much. After the Iraq War and 9/11, all these things, and some of the shenanigans our government, by that time in 2005, I pretty much, kind of started thinking that we weren't getting the whole story about a lot of things. So when I decided to come to Pakistan, part of it was a curiosity. Part of it was wanting to genuinely help. The other part was, I was curious about this part of the world that's been so demonized. So me and this guy, Jim, we went there, and we found a very different place. We found a place full of very strong and beautiful, wonderful people. We found amazing culture. We found, beautiful mountains and scenery. And, it's not this place that you would think that's like just a bunch of desert and Osama bin Laden lookalike is hiding behind every tree with the AK-47 getting ready to shoot you. That's the idea that everybody is given. So I go to this beautiful place, and of course in the disaster zone it's wrecked, but it was a beautiful area. And Pakistanis from all over the world who lived in other places, and Karachi and Islamabad, they came, doctors and volunteers, and even race car drivers like Omar Salim, met him there. So lots of people from Pakistani society that came to volunteer. And so I was really impressed from the very get-go, right? And so I did my logistics work, tents, blankets, communications, security, working with the liaison, the Pakistan Army, the Pakistan Red Crescent, UNICEF, all of the people, I had my little pen and paper and my satellite phone, writing down numbers, who's got what here. Oh, this guy, I just talked to this guy yesterday and he needs this. And I just met this guy who's got these medicines or got this thing. So I'm able to put people together. In the disaster zone, one of the things that I did that was the most successful was finding out what everybody's doing and what everybody's need is, and then connecting them. So connecting people up so that good things can happen. So after 2 weeks, we were all supposed to go back. The team was supposed to go back because they have their jobs in hospitals and things like that, about 20-something doctors. And so they asked me if I would stay because more doctors were coming, and we could all see that this disaster was going to be years to recover from, and all the hospitals had been destroyed and everything. You know the deal. So they asked me to stay, and I said I'd love to stay. So I stayed, and I stayed for about a good 6 months, and then 2 of the Pakistan Army brigadiers that I was working with in Jhelum Valley very closely. We would coordinate every morning, have a meeting about where the helicopters were going to go, where the team was going to go, what resources they had, and they would be sending people up even on foot into the mountains to carry people down, and all sorts of things that we were all working because we had the medical teams. And so I became not only very good friends with them, but after some time they said, hey, a lot of people are leaving. People in the villages were saying a lot of people are leaving international community. So they were probably asking a lot of people to stay. I was one of those people. They said, please stay, because a lot of people are leaving. And we have so much more help that we need. So there was help that was still needed. I really fell in love with Pakistan, felt at home here. And so I decided that I will, stick around when one of the brigadiers said, we'll even help you register your organization here. I was like, wow, I got a chance to actually start my own organization and see where it goes. So it was an opportunity that Allah opened up for me. I'm sorry it took an earthquake for me to get here, but I really fell in love with the country during that first few months. And I started CDRS, and I was still at that time thinking maybe I'll just stay a couple years, and then this team of a lot of them were themselves earthquake victims, young people that lost their jobs, their schools, their homes, their businesses, and they started working with me, and we formed our core team to help not only the people with their needs of food, water, medicines, things like that, but also to help reestablish the damaged and destroyed hospitals. So that was what we did. And so after a few years, I decided just to stay here and make Pakistan my home. So we registered early on, and unfortunately for Pakistan, there was the SWAT crisis in 2009, the floods of 2010 and 11, and 2013 there were floods in Punjab and AJK, and then there was the IDP's crisis in North Waziristan. So we worked in all of those disasters with our team. So unfortunately for Pakistan, there was a lot of work for disaster. So we were busy, and that's how I came to.
You became Pakistani then.
Yeah, you could say.
So Todd, it's a wonderful story that how you come just for one earthquake disaster, to manage it, and from one earthquake to another and to another, and all the journey of this. It's amazing, and I'm sure that people, even many Pakistanis, won't have work that much with with their heart that you have done. So it's being Pakistani, I'm so thankful to you, and also the way you left your country and you make this country your own home. I'm sure people of Pakistan have always consider you their fellow Pakistani always.
Well, for me, I came here because of a disaster. Perhaps if the disaster at that time had been somewhere else, maybe I would have ended up there, who knows. But I can tell you one thing, I have been to many countries since then. I've done disaster relief work in Bangladesh with the Rohingya camps a few times. In fact, one of my big heroes from Pakistan, Dr. Muhammad Amjad Saqib, he helped fund that work in the Rohingya camps. And I've been to Haiti earthquake and Japan tsunami, and I've been to the Kuwait-Iraq border delivering supplies, and so I've been to these different countries, and my son has also been here and gotten involved in it, and he's done relief work back home as well in hurricanes. So I've been to many places, and nowhere that I've been did I get the love and appreciation, respect, and hospitality as I've gotten here. There's no doubt about it, hands down, not even close.
So is this the reason you also get married in Pakistan then?
Well, when I decided I'll stay in Pakistan, I actually had a fiancée in America, and I asked her to come here. She was in Florida, and she liked being on the beach and all that. And she wanted me to come back. She said, you know, you went there and you did your work. You did a good job. Now come back home. And I said, well, home is here now for me. and I'd like you to come here. And she refused to do that. So that distance broke us up, although we're still very close friends. So I wasn't looking for a wife here, but because I decided to live here, it kind of just naturally came into that progression. So I have a wife now, Fozia. We've been married for 3 years, and we have a baby that's you know, almost 2.5. So his name is Mohammed Sultan, and he's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little being. And I'm very happy with the both of them. So God has blessed me. You know, he's a real joy in our lives. And you know, so yeah, I even have a CNIC card. Okay. You know, a POC card through my wife, and so I get all the benefits of citizenship. Although it's not full citizenship, it's basically, you know, gives me the privilege of being here visa free and all those things. So yeah, now it's been 18 years in Pakistan. We just crossed last week 18 years being in Pakistan, and it's been an incredible journey of my life, and I wouldn't change it for anything. And it did prove to me that it proved to me long ago, not that far after I'd gotten to Pakistan, within a couple weeks, I was saying to myself, you know, now I know that our media in America is manipulative towards the public. Now I know that they're not telling the truth, that they're telling 2% of the truth 100% of the time, and they're manipulating, and the language they use, and the things that they show, and the things that they omit are very much designed to keep Americans thinking negatively about the people here. And I found it to be insidious, and I thought, well, why would somebody do that? And then it made sense. Those who make their living at the most powerful halls of power in America do very well when there's a war, and selling bullets and bombs is quite profitable. So it comes down to those people also are in the same cabal, you can say. Some of it highly organized, some of it loosely organized, but very much media, weapons dealing, government, big corporations, they're all at that top 1%. And they do very well with the way the world is. And they don't care about the rest of us because they're psychopaths. And that's how God designed this thing. Human beings who are psychopaths tend to rise to the highest levels of power because they're willing to destroy or step on anyone in order to get there. Those who can handle power, that would really want to help the people, they don't want to play dirty tricks. So the ones that play dirty tricks have the upper hand on this earth because they can pull all kinds of nonsense, especially if they own the media and they own the weapons and they concede both sides of a conflict so that they ensure there's a conflict. Why would they do that? They make more money and it distracts people. As long as they're fighting each other, nobody's paying attention to them and what they're doing. So they are making money and distracting people. And it's a very sad thing. But by being in Pakistan, it opened my eyes that this country has its problems, but so does the US, so does everywhere. And some of the problems that are here are because of the US. A lot of them. So then it comes to the point where I just said to myself, okay, the last shred of credibility that the United States government, this has nothing to do with whether I love my country or my people. This is making a conscious decision after the truth being shown to me took a few years to digest it, but understanding how manipulated we are and how lied to we are and how insidious the top levels of our government are.
Obviously, I also believe, you know, when you talk about that media is manipulative, there's nothing to do with the people. People are always great. People are always, open to each other. So I also believe when even, Pakistan has a lot of issues with their neighbor India. But I personally lived in Australia for a couple of years, and I saw that how much loving people of India are. But when we say that Pakistan have problem with India or any other country, so it's not about the people, it's about the governments. Yeah. So I truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that when it comes to insidious nature of this, just digest this for a second, and anyone out there that's listening. I'm an American who loves my country, wants to believe that our press and our government has our back and wants us to prosper and wants the world to prosper and is the good guy, right? Because they have the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, right? They have these documents, these founding documents, the Constitution, that say all men are created equal. Not just white people, not just Americans, not just this or that religion, but all men are created equal. And that all human beings have the right to the pursuit of life, liberty, and justice for all, and happiness. And these are enshrined in not only in our founding documents, but written in stone on our monuments. This is what we are supposed to be about. And then when you realize that your media and your government top people, and people in the government who are just the workers, they're just like, you know, the military and the soldiers, they're just regular people like us. I'm talking about the top people that make the decisions.
Yeah.
Those people have sold us the whole world a bag of goods. It isn't fair. It isn't right. So as an American, to realize that we have all these founding principles and beautiful documents, and we say we're the greatest nation and we have the greatest principles and we're all about human rights. And then to find out the hypocrisy that even in our own country, we're criticizing China, and look at what we're doing to the people from Africa, the black community that has been mistreated in our country, and the Native Americans that we stole the country from, you know, hundreds of years ago. You look at the hypocrisy, and you see how the history books spin these things, and they're still doing it today with this colonialism and this exploitation of people economically around the world, seeding wars and profiting from that. So it's total hypocrisy to have gone, they have taken our country off the track, right? Completely off the track into hypocrisy, into doing and being exactly the opposite of what we say we are. So I'm done with that part of the American government. It's nothing about whether I love my country or the people, it's the government. So if anything, I want my fellow Americans to wake up to the fact that they're being manipulated, used, and played, and that nobody cares. They don't care about them. And they're going to lie to them, and they're going to lie about places like Pakistan in order to make people hate this part of the world enough to where when they want to bomb them to make some more money, or they want to do this or do that, or they want their interests here or there, that they are very much eager to lie to the American people. And that realization was very sad and shocking for me once it all came together. But that's another aspect of being in Pakistan that made me see the light.
Yeah. Okay. So coming to, there's a lot of thing going on with the, Palestine, and we have been, watching and observing the, hypocrisy of Israel and US, especially because whatever Israel is doing, US is totally backing up, backing the Israel's all the activities in a very manipulating way on the media. So
they've made the oppressed victims into the perpetrators.
Yes.
And they've made the perpetrators and colonizers and oppressors who illegally occupy a land militarily, pushing and shoving the people and killing them when they got out of line in their mind. They do this evil, and they are the guilty, but it's totally turned on its head in America. And unfortunately, after 50 years of spoon-feeding these lies and this propaganda, the people of America don't even realize how brainwashed they are and how much they have gotten this lopsided story. And only now, because of social media, because of the internet, there are outlets, even though these powers that be are trying to suppress and shut those people down, enough is getting through, and people are starting to wake up. And it's creating a real problem with people resisting. They don't want to know the truth because they're so comfortable with what it was. They don't want to think that they've been had.
Have you been there as well in Palestine?
I've never been to Israel or Palestine, no.
So do you?
But I have studied that problem along because I've been very interested in the Kashmir issue, and there's many similarities. And our government, go figure, who's some of the largest lobbying to Congress in America? The Indian American and Indian government lobby, the Israeli government, and the Jewish American lobby. These are very powerful organizations that fund both Democrats and Republicans. Now, Kashmiris and Palestinians, they have no money to give to the Congress to fund their campaigns and fund the elections of these people. So this is why, even in a country that says it's the greatest and has the greatest documents and all these high ideals, they've sold themselves to the devil for a few bucks and some power, because the people who have the money and power in the markets in the big countries or the powerful countries are the ones that get the decisions and the laws and the support. And the Kashmiris and the Palestinians, even though they have the just cause, America has sold its soul to the devil, so they're not interested in their cause. They're interested in who has money and power.
Okay, and well, let's talk back about Pakistan. So, do you have the experience of people pulling your legs, doing all the social activities you're doing in Pakistan, and how supportive Pakistani government and the people of Pakistan have been in terms of charity to your organization and the other moral support?
I've run across people who have been dishonest, but for the most part, we have done our work, and we've never been stopped by the government. 18 years, I've never been stopped. I have been checked out by everybody. I'm sure from the CIA to, everybody was like, when I decided to stay here, everybody was wondering why I'm here. Why did I want to come here? Who am I and what is my agenda?
Option.
Yeah, so it's funny to be at the center of that storm and be a guy that not only was here because I was invited by Pakistanis from every level of Pakistani society, from the army to the other NGOs down to the
people who have actually seen you work.
Yeah, down to the people in the village. I was invited to stay and asked to stay. So I have that history. But to be at the center of the storm and only be interested and knowing full well that my interest was serving humanity. It didn't even matter, it was Pakistan. Pakistan's on planet Earth. And I was here, and I would go anywhere to help people who were in need from a disaster, and ended up being here and falling in love with the people in the country. So this is the place that I ended up, where God put me, and the opportunity to serve happened here. But I could be anywhere on the face of the planet. I could go right now, save penguins and whales in Antarctica if that's what I wanted to do. I can literally go anywhere. Nothing is stopping me from going anywhere. But I like Pakistan. I fall in love with Pakistan. There's a lot of need here. So this is where it ended up happening, right? It ended up being here. So somehow, some way, even though I've been checked out by all the agencies here, by the international agencies to figure out and people have been, there for a while, they were suspicious of me. The Raymond Davis incident and some of the tug of war and problems between U.S. and Pakistan relations with government, that all, I would have to be on the front line of that ideological, and geopolitical struggles and disagreements, right? So, I've had to navigate that, and I've just kept doing my work and doing it honestly, and we have a track record now. So now, I'm totally clean. The ISI would have kicked me out of this country long ago, because they can come here right now through this door, and they can say, come with us, and put me on an airplane back to US.
Yeah.
Any moment that they want to, if I was to be somebody that they thought was damaging to the country at all. So 18 years of history, a Tamga Isar medal from Pakistan. I don't want to hear it anymore from anybody. I did my time with people doubting me.
So you got Tamga
Isar medal from
Isar.
President of Pakistan.
Okay.
And so I say that to say this. I've been proven after 18 years, to be what I say I am, with a track record of work and a track record of behavior. Okay. So my difficulties in Pakistan have been there, but not so much. Our work was never stopped. We've had people try to do things, but Allah has, thanks to Allah, each time we had a big challenge that looked bad, we always came out of it stronger. better, bigger, doing more good work. And then that led to another challenge that then we overcame. And even anybody that ever tried to hurt us or steal from us, they always got whacked. So, I don't mean killed, I mean whacked, like spanked, They had something bad ended up happening to them, and it didn't work out for them, right? So many times in Pakistan, we have been through tough times. And we've been there, we do disaster relief work. We have been there through the not only the earthquakes and the floods, but IDP's crisis, and even last year's floods. So we have been to every disaster in Pakistan, and we gave out food, and we worked with APNA in Imana and a lot of Pakistani Americans, who 99% of my funding comes from Pakistani Americans. And hardly any Goras fund us. And we have some like Mary Petroleum, Touchstone Communications, Avanza Solutions, Abyss Solutions. We have some corporate donors here, and we're working with. We've started working more in Lahore. We have a House of Blessings for Widows and Orphans in Karachi.
Where are you living, and which city?
So I'm currently residing in Islamabad in G13.
Okay.
We have a House of Blessings for Widows and Orphans in Pindi. We have a House of Blessings for Widows and Orphans in Karachi. We're opening up one here in Lahore by the end of the year. We also have an animal shelter out in Bedia that is just coming online next month. And we have 3 other animal shelters, Skurdu, Islamabad, and Karachi, which is designed for the trap, neuter, vaccinate, release. The vaccination against rabies and the depopulation of stray dogs, not through shooting and poisoning and other un-Islamic, not Islamically permissible methods, and the cruel way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the way that it goes along with the words in the Quran about how to take care and manage animals, especially those that are our responsibility. A lot of people out there hate dogs, and they don't like dogs because of their behavior, but dogs are dirty and don't behave because we've abandoned them. They're domesticated creatures. People don't realize this, but wolves were created by Allah. Then we took those wolves in, and over thousands of years, we made them into dogs.
Yeah.
And every breed of dog is one breed, is one race of dog, it's one species, but that many different breeds of all different sizes that we've bred for different reasons. So we have all these dogs, then we've abandoned some of them, and now they're out on the street. And so definitely they start behaving like wolves again, because that's their ancestors. And they'll make a lot of unwanted more puppies every generation. So with the surgical procedure of neutering and spaying, you reduce the population, you vaccinate for rabies. The dogs that remain, they're much more friendly because they've had the surgery. They're more docile. They don't create disturbances and bite people and spread rabies. And then the population goes down, so it's a manageable one. They did this in Turkey 20 years back. And so we want to do that in Pakistan. So that's a big project. We have 700 water projects in the country. Everything from hand pumps to reverse osmosis water filtration units with solar power. So we build schools. We have an engineering team that can build anything. We build houses. We built a bunch of houses for APNA and for Mary Petroleum. We do all the disaster relief work.
So if someone wants to be part of your organization in terms of donation or any other activity, so how can we, how can someone be part of your organization?
So yeah, we're open to anybody contacting us, and depending on if they want to donate or if they want to help one of our projects or all of our projects, or they want to volunteer, or they want to in the field, or with social media support.
I'll write down the number of your organization on the screen. So
sure, yeah, you can contact me by WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And my website for the CDRS is cdrsworld.org, and all the information is there about how to get in touch with us on our projects and that kind of thing. So yeah, we definitely love collaboration, and we've worked with many entities over the course of our disaster work. And it's actually collaboration and teamwork is what is needed to be successful.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Pakistan as a nation, if I can comment on one thing, Pakistan only needs teamwork because the individual brilliance is there. And I met your team earlier, and you have a great team, right? So those people who put together a great team, they succeed, and they're brilliant. But Pakistan as a nation has to learn that kind of teamwork.
Yeah.
If there's teamwork and trust, then they will. There's no power on earth that can destroy Pakistan except for Pakistan.
So earlier you were talking about the food, Pakistani food. So what do you like in food, and especially there's a long debate over the food from Karachi and Lahore. So where is your vote to?
Well,
Karachi or Lahore?
you're not going to get an answer from me there because, and here's the reason. When I come to Lahore, I love the food here, the biryani and the spices and the food street and those ancient places that have been here 1,000 years. And you go there and you can feel the culture and you can taste the magic that's in the air,
exactly.
right? Okay, it's there. So I wouldn't say that anything's better than that. But I also go to Karachi and I love the seafood there because I'm a seafood guy, and there is where I've found the best seafood.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't want to say that I like anywhere better than that. So I would say equally. And I equally love to go to KPK.
You just save yourself.
Yeah, I like to go to KPK and have chapli kebab and this namak mandi and these places. So the food is spectacular in all of its little ways. And then you go to any village in Pakistan, and I've been to all of them, and I've been all over because of this work. I've been to every corner of Pakistan, from the China border to Karachi, and everywhere in between. And so you go and you get this saag and cornbread, makka ki roti. So it's a little different everywhere you go, depending on the kind of saag and the way they prepare it, and the way the spices and things. So it's always amazing to have this one dish, but how different it is depending on where you're at. So I'm a big lover of keema. I'm a big lover of mutton, especially mutton krai. And I'm a big fan of the Chinese.
You're making
Pakistani
me hungry right now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Pakistani version of Chinese.
Yeah,
which is very different from American Chinese. So
and the actual Chinese.
Yes. So, well, I've never really had, I don't know if I've ever had actual Chinese because I've only had Pakistani Chinese and I've only had American Chinese, so I'm not sure. But I love both. But here there is a difference and a flavor that is according to the Pakistani tastes and they've made it their own kind of, So the food here is spectacular. I came here at 100 kg and now I weigh 145 kg, so it's like, I'm trying to lose weight, and it's very difficult here, because you have such amazing food, and everybody where you go, they love to feed you.
Yeah,
and they don't let you have just one plate. If you have just one plate, they feel as if you haven't eaten and that you don't like their food. So, they pressurize you, and even I'm trying to lose weight and have one plate of food. But I don't want to have one plate of food. I want to have 3 plates of food, and they want me to have 3 plates of food. But in order to stay alive for Muhammad Sultan and see him get married one day, then I have to work on so I've been trying to eat more fish and vegetables and chicken and stay away from the bread and the rice and the roti and the paratha, all these things that I love. But it's been a magnificent experience in Pakistan, not only with the food, but the music and the culture. The indigenous music of this earth here, this land, is unbelievable. But the Pakistani interpretation of Western pop is also amazing. So I've been able to play with some of the biggest singers in Pakistan and work with them. Kratalain Baloch, I knew her before she was famous and actually helped her get started. Sana Marvi, Sayan Zahur.
All these are like folk music.
Sarmad Ghafoor, who is a big producer who did all the music for Mullah Jat, and he also played guitar for Atif Aslam and Umair Jaswal. I'm working with Umair Jaswal. He's our ambassador, and we're doing a concert together next week in Hunza at the end of this weekend. So we're working with Umair, and he's one of the nicest, most down to earth people. He cares about the work we're doing. And
Umair Jaswal?
Yeah, Umair Jaswal, he's amazing. He was with the band Chaos years ago, and then he struck out on his own. So, musically, the mountains, this beautiful culture. I'm still trying to learn Urdu, Samaj Tora Tora, because us Americans growing up never learned any other languages. So developing the way to learn other languages is easy for Pakistanis because there's so many different languages. But for us, it's very difficult because when we were young and our brains were open to learning how to learn new languages, we never had that, and we can't even speak English properly. So I'm at a handicap there, but I'm trying my best because Fozia, my wife, her parents are Punjabi. Father is from Shekhapura, mother's from Hafizabad. So I'm trying to learn something from them, for them. So I have little phrases like "Aapko koi cheez chahiye," in different things that I've learned. so that I can at least have some kind of conversation with them. So I'm trying to, hopefully in a couple years, I will be able to be more fluent in Urdu.
I hope so. So, Todd, it was a wonderful, time spent with you. I really liked all the, changeovers that you have faced, and, the way you change your life from, being from, like the initial part of your life, and then to, to the work of charity and your disaster management company. So amazing to see all the activities, and I hope that all these activities and all this hard work you have done give you the best result in the afterlife.
Inshallah.
I really hope so.
I do it because I think it's the right thing to do. I don't do it for a reward after, but if I get that reward, I'm not going to refuse it.
Yes,
it'll
obviously.
be great. But I'm doing it because it's the right thing. And just to get back real quick into this situation that's going on now in Israel and Palestine, is I can tell you for certain that by coming here to Pakistan and living here, and even becoming Muslim in 2009, this has not brought me to a point of hating Jews, right? Hatred for Jews that's what people think when I say, I look at the Palestinian suffering and I want them to stop suffering. Some of them automatically say, oh, you're an anti-Semite, you're this. They're just so ready to jump because their minds are so conditioned by the media and by the stories they heard. So I do try to debate people in a respectful way and say, listen, not only do I not hate Jews, but I love Jews. And Jews are people of the book, even in Islam.
Exactly.
So the Jewish faith and the Jewish beliefs and the Jewish religion and Jewish people are not the problem. In fact, thank God, there are so many Jewish people standing up and saying, this is wrong, not in our name. Don't commit war crimes in our name. Don't wipe out Palestinian people. Hamas is 1% of the population, if that, of Gaza. And they are bombing 2.5 million people, half of them children. Bombing indiscriminately, destroying schools and hospitals, bombing everywhere. And this is a war crime. And basically, what's really sad is that when this incident happened where the Hamas breached the walls and came and killed some people in Israel, I can understand their upset and their emotion. But they should then think about maybe that upset and that feeling they have, maybe they should think how much the other side must feel, living for 75 years under a gun, being mistreated, being massacred, being abused, being oppressed, not getting their rights, having their own land taken out from under them, having the keys to their own houses, but never being able to go back to those houses. This is something that this moment, I hope the rest of the world would wake up. Unfortunately, I can't look to the United States government to lead, because not only did they not lead, but the Israeli government top guys were saying things like, we're going to wipe them all out, scorched earth, we're going to go in and just destroy the whole place. They're talking this language and this rhetoric. They said, we're going to lay siege and no water, no food, no electricity in Gaza Strip, knowing what that is going to do to innocent children. This is an openly committed and openly said to the whole world war crime. Absolutely no two ways about it. And yet, when that happened, you would think that the president of the leader of the free world would say, listen, we stand with you, Israel, and you have a right to defend yourself, but not to the point of going beyond defensive, not to the point of war crimes. We can't go with you. We're not going to go there with you. But he didn't say that. All that Biden said, knowing what the rhetoric was, knowing what was being said, he said, we stand with Israel unconditionally. And that's where he lost me completely, 100%. That's where I said, this sucker has now done something that has never been done in the history of mankind to this point, which is to openly endorse unconditionally a government that they're supporting anyway with weapons and money, who has said, we're going to do a war crime. That means, you know what that means? That means the rule of law means nothing. That means the rule of law, the mask is ripped off. It means the rule of law is a bunch of paper that they burn to the ground. And that also means that none of us, if they don't have to follow the rule of law, then none of us, none of it, not you, not me, Not anybody on this planet has to follow any rule of law. We also, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We can also all now do whatever the hell we want. So this is what the danger of this kind of rhetoric and this kind of behavior is. And I see a lot of the world waking up. Some of the people in the West are waking up. And I just encourage anybody that sees this, whether you're Jewish, whether you're American, whether you're pro-Israel, it doesn't matter. I have no problem with you and your religion or whoever you are or wherever you're from. Look at the facts, do some research, dig way beyond the headlines. And then when you do that, you'll start seeing a pattern. You'll see that whenever you talk to somebody who's on the Israeli side and you start questioning things, that they start insulting you. They start throwing around the word anti-Semitism, hatred of Jews. They start playing the victim card. And if somebody has to resort to that, you know that their argument is not solid. So this is what's going on. And I hope people who see this, who think that I'm some kind of Hamas-loving idiot who loves terrorism, and because I've become Muslim, if they want to say that, then they're really hurting themselves. Because at the end of days, when we're all judged, we're all going to be judged on all of this. So think very carefully. And all I'm asking people to do is do your research. Learn about the massacres in 1948 that Israel perpetrated, the ethnic cleansing that they've been carrying on ever since. Look at the dirty tricks. Everybody says, oh, Israel tried to make peace. Israel tried to do this. It's all baloney, because when you look behind it, you see that they were just using that to fool people, and behind the scenes, manipulating and doing other things to put the peace process off track, including creating Hamas. They created Hamas, funded Hamas, and put Hamas there to be a hard line because they wanted to divide and conquer, use the old British strategy. They didn't want the Palestinian Authority, who had said, we will acknowledge Israel's right to exist. We will have a two-state solution. We will go for that. They agreed to that. So they created Hamas in order to blow that whole thing up. But while the headlines were saying we want peace and we want a two-state solution, we're for that. But these Palestinians do this. Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
In fact, the United States of America is no longer the United States of America, as far as I'm concerned. It's the dis-United States of America. And instead of being the world's most powerful democracy, they're actually the most powerful hypocrisy in the world. And our friends over here, India, are right behind them, and they are the world's largest hypocrisy. This is what's going on. And no nation is perfect. We all make mistakes. But when you have these powerful of entities who are running the planet and destroying the planet and exploiting the indigenous people and the poor people of the world and just using them, then this is where you lose me.
Okay, all good. So, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your, you coming from Islamabad, and I really, mean all the, input that you have given for my questions.
I would have come from across the world to be here on your show.
That's your greatness. Thank you so much for here. So thank you very much. We'll see you in the next podcast.